A research vessel from Earth drifts through uncharted space when its navigation systems fail during a routine survey mission. The ship carries a small crew of 12 humans, led by Captain Amy Morrison, who has spent 15 years exploring the outer regions beyond human territory. Without warning, a massive alien vessel appears beside them, dwarfing their ship by a factor of 20 and bathing them in scanning beams of violet light. The alien ship belongs to the Celestial Dominion, an empire that has ruled this sector of space for over 10,000 years. With absolute authority, Commander Lyra stands on the bridge of the Dominion warship, observing the primitive human vessel with a mixture of curiosity and disdain for their outdated technology. Lyra is a high-ranking officer of her species, standing nearly 7 feet tall with luminescent silver skin that shifts colors based on her emotional state. Her species, the Kyrathi, pride themselves on genetic perfection and technological superiority, having conquered 47 different civilizations throughout their expansion. The Kyrathi consider humans to be an insignificant species, barely worthy of documentation in their vast imperial records. Lyra orders her crew to bring the human ship into their docking bay for inspection, expecting to find frightened primitives begging for mercy. When the airlocks connect and the humans emerge, Captain Morrison strides forward without hesitation, meeting Lyra's intimidating gaze with calm determination. Kyrathi commander expects immediate submission, but Morrison simply extends her hand in greeting and introduces herself as though meeting an equal. This simple gesture catches Lyra completely off guard, as no species has ever approached her with such casual confidence in over a century of military service. Morrison explains that her crew was conducting peaceful research when their systems failed, and requests assistance in repairing their navigation. Lyra finds herself strangely intrigued by this human's composure in the face of overwhelming power, and agrees to examine their vessel as Kyrathi engineers inspect the human ship. They discover technology that should not exist in such a primitive civilization, including experimental quantum drives. The humans have achieved faster-than-light travel through completely different principles than the Dominion, using creativity and improvisation rather than established science. Lyra begins spending time with Morrison discussing their respective cultures and discovers that humans value individual freedom above collective order. This concept is alien to Lyra, whose entire existence has been defined by strict hierarchy and absolute obedience to imperial authority. Morrison shares stories of human history, including tales of ordinary people who challenged empires and changed the course of civilization through sheer determination. The captain speaks of revolutionaries and inventors who refused to accept that something was impossible, simply because authority figures declared it so. Lyra finds these stories both fascinating and disturbing, as they contradict everything she was taught about the natural order of the universe. During a tour of the Kyrathi vessel, Morrison notices that the crew operates with mechanical precision, showing no joy or personal expression in their duties. When Lyra explains that emotions are considered weaknesses to be suppressed, Morrison responds by laughing and saying that emotions are what make life worth living. The human captain demonstrates this by gathering her crew for an evening meal, where they share jokes and stories, creating an atmosphere of warmth. Lyra observes this gathering from a distance, confused by the inefficiency of spending time on social bonding when they could be working. Yet she notices something she has never seen before among her own people, a genuine connection between individuals who care about each other. Morrison invites Lyra to join them, and despite her initial reluctance, the Kyrathi commander sits among the humans. The crew treats Lyra not as a superior officer to be feared, but as a guest to be welcomed, sharing their food and including her in conversation. For the first time in her long military career, Lyra experiences what it means to be part of a community, rather than a hierarchy. One of the human engineers, named Beth Carter, shows Lyra pictures of her family back on Earth, explaining how she misses them during long missions. Lyra admits that she has no family, as Kyrathi are grown in genetic facilities and assigned to roles based on their design capabilities. Beth looks at her with such profound sadness that Lyra feels something shift inside her chest, an unfamiliar sensation. She cannot name. Over the following days, Lyra and Morrison spend increasing amounts of time together, discussing philosophy, technology, and the nature of consciousness. Morrison argues that the measure of a civilization is not its weapons or territory, but how it treats the weakest and most vulnerable among its people. This idea challenges everything Lyra believes about imperial superiority and the righteousness of Kirathi conquest. The turning point comes when Lyra receives orders from Dominion High Command to detain the humans and seize their experimental technology for imperial use. According to imperial law, any technology discovered in Dominion space belongs to the Empire, regardless of who created it. Lyra knows that following these orders means betraying the trust Morrison has shown her and condemning the humans to imprisonment. For the first time in her career, Lyra questions whether the orders she receives are just simply because they come from authority. She visits Morrison's quarters, late in the ship's night cycle, and confesses the situation, admitting her uncertainty about what to do. Morrison does not plead or beg, but instead asks Lyra a simple question about what kind of person she wants to be. The human captain explains that every individual faces moments where they must choose between following orders and doing what they know is right. Lyra realizes that despite her genetic engineering and military conditioning, she still possesses the capacity to make her own choices. She makes a decision that will brand her a traitor to the Dominion, but will allow her to face her reflection without shame. Lyra helps the humans repair their ship and provides them with safe coordinates out of Dominion territory, risking everything for people she met days ago. As Morrison prepares to depart, she thanks Lyra and tells her that she will always have friends among humanity if she ever needs sanctuary. The Kirathi commander watches the human vessel disappear into faster-than-light travel, knowing that her life has changed forever. Within hours, Dominion security discovers her betrayal, and Lyra faces immediate arrest for treason against the Empire. She is brought before the High Council and stripped of her rank as her silver. Skin flushes dark with the shame her people expect her to feel. But Lyra feels no shame, only a strange sense of peace, knowing that she made a choice based on her own conscience. The Council sentences her to exile from Dominion space, a punishment considered worse than death for a species that values collective unity. Lyra is placed in a small vessel with minimal supplies and sent toward the border of human territory, with a warning never to return. For weeks she drifts alone, facing the possibility that Morrison's words of friendship were merely diplomatic courtesy with no substance. Her food supplies dwindle, and her ship's systems begin failing as she crosses into the vast neutral zone between empires. Just as Lyra begins to accept that she will die alone in the darkness, sensors detect an approaching vessel. The ship that finds her bears Earth registry, and when the airlock opens, Captain Morrison herself steps through. The human captain smiles and says she hoped they would meet again, though she wished it were under better circumstances. Morrison explains that human intelligence networks picked up chatter about a Kirathi exile, and she requested permission to investigate. The crew of humans welcomes Lyra aboard, treating her not as a former enemy, but as the friend Morrison promised she would always be. They bring her to Earth, where she becomes the first Kirathi to ever visit human homeworld as a guest. Rather than conqueror, Lyra discovers a civilization built on principles of diversity, cooperation, and constant questioning of authority. She meets humans of countless variations in appearance, culture, and belief, all coexisting in chaotic but vibrant harmony. The Kirathi exile realizes that humanity's strength comes not from genetic perfection or military might, but from embracing imperfection and difference. Morrison offers Lyra a position as cultural liaison, helping humanity understand the Dominion and other alien civilizations. Over months and years, Lyra adapts to human society, learning to express emotions she was engineered to suppress. She develops genuine friendships, experiences art and music, and discovers aspects of existence she never knew were possible. The exile who left Dominion space as a military officer finds purpose as a bridge between cultures. News eventually reaches Earth that Lyra's actions inspired other Kirathi to question imperial authority, creating the first resistance movement in Dominion history. Morrison tells Lyra that sometimes one person choosing courage over obedience creates ripples that change entire civilizations. The former commander realizes that humans are not powerful because of their technology or weapons. They are powerful because they believe individuals matter, and that kindness is strength rather than weakness. Lyra looks at the stars from Earth's surface and knows she made the right choice. She found something among humans that her perfect empire could never give her: the freedom to choose her own path, and the knowledge that she matters not for what she was designed to be, but for who she chooses to become.